The only constant is change. Why I am currently unlearning everything and trying to flow with as much change as possible. Hi, I'm Nick, former medical doctor turned soul doctor, and having healed from my lifelong asthma and suicidal depression, miracles are possible. What I thought I knew isn't the truth. The less I say I know, the better things are now. And I'm speaking today on April 25th, 2026 at sunrise on my rooftop balcony. I'm getting into sunrise because that's part of the change. I have been in sunrise every day for the past couple weeks, and I've been seeing more sunrises in the past year than I have my entire life because I've been listening to Dr. Jack Kruse, neurosurgeon, and it's reformulated my whole idea about sunshine and the importance of it in my life. And today I'm talking to you because I just listened to Alex Jones interviewing Dr. Jack Kruse. And Alex Jones is a show that I never would have watched a decade ago. I thought he was just a mad hatter, conspiracy theorist, Sandy Hook stuff, all this stuff. And I realize now it's not that I agree with everything he says or I think he's a saint now, but I'm willing to take a listen to some long form stuff when there's a reason to expand my view. And the funny thing is, he said the only constant is change, which is a message I had received in a meditation about 5 years ago. And now hearing it, I realize none of these messages are new, but when you hear it so directly mirrored, it's like, okay, thank you, universe, for another sign. So why am I having this video? Well, I really want to point out lots of examples here, plant lots of seeds of change to give you some ammunition to re-examine your own belief systems. What will this do for you when you actually start diving deep into that? Not ignoring everyday life, not ignoring your responsibilities, but adding this in, things will shift faster than you think. And the things that shift faster than you think may produce things such as what we would call miracles, and actually embrace the miracles. Notice what shifts in you that you're like, this would have been impossible a year ago. This would have been unthinkable, unfathomable. And then just roll with it. And for me, why am I wanting to do this? Because I want to practice being a living example, moving through the process. I haven't reached the outcome because there isn't an outcome that I know that I'm getting to. It's just moving through the process of living better and better, more fully, more in joy, and recognizing that my life still has so many pockets of pain, of sadness, of anxiety, of fear, of anger, of separation, of armoring. And those are just reminders of evidence that there's still things to look at. Life can still be more beautiful, more fun. So the only constant is change. One of the big things that's provoking this is there's a magnetic declination event. The magnetic North Pole has moved from Canada to Siberia in the last 15 years. Something it's done previously over the course of hundreds of millions of years is moving so quickly. And I'd heard about this. I'd heard about magnetic pole flips. I've heard about all these things. The impact is that there's places in the earth that are most likely much better to live in than others because it has more magnetic pull. That pull helps to hold in lighter atoms. It helps to ground ourselves into the earth. And this has probably more an effect on our health than we think. We are constantly being told that it's the little things. Oh, if I just change this supplement, if I just buy organic, if I just drive an electric car, things are going to be better. But what's probably making more of an impact, if you think about it, is this giant sun, this giant earth, this giant galaxy, and we're just tiny little specks. So why are we focused on what we're impacting on that as much? Or the reverse, how are these big things impacting us, and how do we want to play with it, flow with it, rather than see how we can move it, may make more of a difference. Because yes, we can do things that kill humans. We can drop a nuclear, a hydrogen bomb. But is that really impacting the earth itself to the extent that we think? Is it just a blip in time for it? Whereas, how do we let this giant, magnificent thing impact us in the best way possible? How do we flow with it? And when I say this, there's this fear, worry that if everyone finds this out, they're all going to change at once. No, even knowing all this, the change isn't easy. It just doesn't always have to be hard. Even knowing this, I still haven't been down to El Salvador yet. I have been to Hawaii at least. There's so many places to explore, so many places and ways to go. And I'm going to plant seeds like deuterium depleted water, like raw honey. There's so many little ways that you can change, that I can change. And what are the ways that I've already changed? And that's what I focus on, because then I have the evidence that something's happened. Like I've said before, I've healed from my lifelong asthma. Yes, there was an ayahuasca ceremony that helped create the space for that, but it was the cutting out of alcohol completely because I knew that my body had such an inflammatory response to it that it was killing me. Also, I started eating differently. My beloved, thankfully, got me onto more of the free-range, grass-fed meats, to the more organic foods, to the more farmers market foods, all those things that are more in alignment with us, less pesticides, all that stuff. As well, I got onto meditation, breath work, psychedelics, changing that kind of fixed structure in my brain that this is the way things go. And now part of the reason why I am actively stepping the unlearning is, what if all the ideas of infection, bacteria, viruses, the way diseases are formed is fundamentally shifted? And listening to Dr. Jack Kruse, now it's light, water, magnetism, sunlight, circadian rhythms, redefining what melanin means to us. I haven't worn sunscreen in probably about a decade since I met my beloved because she didn't look at that. I'm so grateful. I haven't taken the acetaminophen or ibuprofen to try to combat the pains that I was feeling because of that. I haven't been just following the mainstream and trying things out, even taking away fluoride in my toothpaste because it's a neurotoxin. All these little things. And what's happened? Well, the sunlight, oh my God, reset the circadian rhythm. And one of the keys is I used to pee all the time at night. I'd have to wake up to pee, wake up to pee, wake up to pee. Now I can go 12, even almost 24 hours without peeing if I choose to, because my vasopressin is probably working again, because my system is working properly again. It's so funny when your system works properly and you start taking it for granted. And I'm watching everyone around me just peeing, 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 peeing. It's like, this is so hilarious. I've even stepped into things like urine therapy, regular daily coffee enemas, all these things helping to clear out the gunk that's been there. And right now on my 5th day of fasting, this is the longest I've ever done it. So cool stepping into autophagy, stepping into a place where my body is getting a chance to replenish itself, stepping into having gotten past that hump of the cold, the shivers, all that stuff. And I'm doing this while healing from what's normally known as a bacterial or viral infection. And then I had been able to move that so much faster by just stepping into a hot bath, stepping on the covers, and really, really driving up fevers. Fevers truly are miraculous, and I want to step into more of those, whether it's through sauna, hot tub, or my own breathwork practices. And then the breathing practices, allowing that to help move the lymphatic fluid, move the CSF better. And then stepping into other practices as well. And part of this is, as I'm unlearning, I'm remembering more things. I'm like, where did that information come from? And I think about savants like Mozart or Beethoven or something else. Like, no one could teach them how to be that amazing with music. They were remembering. And I imagine that each of us, all 8 billion of us, have a remembering that could create some really intuitive gifts. And part of this whole revolution that we're conditioned to feel fear for is, how do we actually use this revolution to take time to actually remember the gifts that we have? How do we fine-tune our relationship with our own health? That's my first pillar of 4 pillars: health, wealth, family, freedom for this year. And in so doing, actually live more vitally than we ever have. It's something that keeps coming up in my own family. We've had these health crises, and each one I don't look at it as, oh my God, I need to fix this symptom, this body part now. Rather, what is it trying to remind me of that I haven't been looking at yet? Because what if we take away the whole idea of how I looked at the body before? Oh, I'm either a kidney person, a liver person, a skin person, only working little people, big people. Oh, what if we're this whole unit? And as we get to better understand these units and how they work, we can actually understand how a little maneuver on a big toe can affect your left shoulder, brain, anything else like that. Because there is such a connection with the body. That's why there's reflexologists. That's why there's iridologists. And learning that these neurons live in different places. And you can see it now. What if the exhaust valve is clogged up? You'll get other diseases. And I've met an amazing naturopathic doctor who healed her MS at 25. And she does this bone therapy, which helps to recalibrate the body's own healing system. I've been receiving it. And it's so cool because it's so mild, so gentle, so non-invasive, so hands-off almost, that it feels like you're paying for nothing. And yet there's been more profound shifts than I could ever imagine. And so I'm coming back to the only constant is change, because there's a lot of change that's in the world right now. If you focus on the noise, you will get lost in it. I get lost in it sometimes too. That's why I glance at some of the news and I turn it off. And I glance at the news and say, what is it that I want to pick up on and learn a little bit about and explore a little bit? That's why I've listened to Alex Jones recently. That's why I've listened to Pierre Poilievre recently on Diary of a CEO. He's a conservative leader. I never would have listened to him before because the media clips would have told me, oh my God, he's crazy. I'm like, he's not crazy at all in that sense. It doesn't mean I agree with everything, but a base pillar of our life, freedom, and that's a big part of it now, means so much more to me. I used to think big government, having more control, telling me how to live my life better because they know better. I realized no one knows me better than me, and no one can fool myself better than myself. So it's a paradigm. It's an oxymoron. I can't just rely on me either. The people that I love the most and see the most are reminding me, what is your biggest vision, Nick? Oh, they're telling me, they're reminding me, oh, these are your biggest visions. We already saw this. Okay, I forget it sometimes. How do I stay on it? And when you have a vision, it doesn't mean it's a linear path, right? And that's the thing too. Everyone's thinking it's going to be a linear change. It's not. It's going to be erratic. It's going to be haphazard. I've also been listening to Donald Trump's State of the Union, not because I agree with everything, but because I want to listen to him in full for a little bit, just see what's going on there. And there's some brilliance there. There's also some stuff that I don't agree with, and it doesn't matter. It's just being able to see. One of the things I often say to people is like, I don't know, but I would not be able to survive probably a day living his life. So I have kudos for the amount of ego, for the amount of sovereignty he has in order to be him. And I would never want to choose that, the fullness of that. And now I'm looking at whose lives do I more want to emulate without being them, because I want to be parts of them. What are the parts that I really want to have? And so the only constant is change, to remind you, you are constantly changing. How do you want to shift? Your cells are constantly dying, they're constantly growing them. How do you want to aid them? And what if you had to unlearn everything? I had to unlearn all of my medical stuff in order to build up, to truly heal from the lifelong asthma, the suicidal depression. And there's other things that are being healed right now. And I've shifted from, I've got to heal from disease, to how do I live the best version of my life all the time? I used to wake up at 3 p.m. with an alarm going, oh. And now I'm waking up sometime between 3 and 6 a.m. without an alarm every day, getting so many more hours of vitality, taking naps whenever I want to, moving around when I want to, living life more freely than I could have imagined. And yet I also see the traps that I'm in. And how do I have both? How is there a divine imperfection and a divine perfection to every moment? So I'm planting all these seeds. If you've been through them all, you can start to see, okay, there are some threads here. It doesn't quite make logical sense. I have a little bit of a divergent brain. I've been diagnosed with ADD before, and there is that component of it. And each of you probably has some diagnoses, but what is the genius in the way that you can structure things? What is the genius in your OCD tendencies? What is your genius in your anger, your rage, your volatility? What is your genius in your procrastination? There's so many things that I put off that I later realized, thank God for me putting that off. Because, oh my God, if I hadn't, what might possibly have happened now? Thank you so much. I'm Nick, former medical doctor turned soul doctor, healing from lifelong asthma, suicidal depression. Ciao for now.